But here we are. Oh my goodness me! Look at this rain here, heavy rain by the looks of it as well. This is not just a bit of pitter patter, Freeman. This looks like torrential rain.
Yeah, definitely. The guys were prepared. I think they all kind of knew it was coming. They had been kind of checking out the server during the week, and they've kind of been mentioning that it is kind of throwing up some different conditions. Whether the rain will stay, that's another thing. You know, it could potentially dry out a little bit later in the race, and then the guys have got something else to think about. You know, whether to go in to change to dry tyres or not. Yeah, it's definitely going to be making it a bit more interesting tonight, I think.
It's one of the tracks, the Nurburgring. A lot of F1 fans will know that the conditions can change incredibly quickly here, and it dries up as if it had never even come in the first place. A lot of people remember 2007, first lap of the European Grand Prix. It was bone dry at the start, and then within half a lap, the whole place was flooded. So it really does come down quickly, but it can also, the sun can come out and it can be gone before you know it. So I'm sure that everybody will be thinking about that tonight, and with the weather forecast being as unpredictable as it is, it will surely throw in some surprises. But we're moments away from the formation lap here, guys. I want to once again apologise for the technical difficulties that we had earlier on, meaning that we couldn't quite have the smooth stream that we usually have. But I want to say a big thank you to the 11 people currently watching the stream right now. Guys, please hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new around here. The issues that we had earlier on, the mics, all of that stuff should be gone now, and I'm going to cut out the first part of the stream before this one later on, so you won't have to look at the absolute mess that was earlier on later on, because it's very embarrassing for me to have that on the channel. But we got a lot of people in the comments here right now. We got Laser Camel says Cheese still to put in a time. He didn't manage to get too high up the order in terms of the pace. He's a little bit off, but I wouldn't count him out in the rain, not by any shot. Also got Sim League Pro Xander saying Laser Cam will sneak out and come back with a GT3, they won't notice. Well, to be fair, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but probably, well, no, considering that he signed up as a GT4 driver on SLP, probably would be a bit of a nightmare for us. So yeah, don't do that, mate. But Laser Camel, I'm planning one of those last to first races, just need everyone else to die on the first corner. You just need to set something off at the first corner, I think. Shout out to BM Racing. Xanderfander says also John Jig in the mix as well. BM Racing, obviously the team of King Quinn and Duke Martin. The hottest duo in the comments box right now here, folks, says JR. I can't disagree with that one. I've got to say you're bang on there. Right Bait says good to hear the dynamic duo back in the box again. Definitely used that term before. I can't remember where I've heard that term, but I've heard it described. I've heard commentary partners described as the dynamic duo before. I just can't remember where. No rain, says the Laser Camel. Well, you can't say you didn't expect it. You can't say we didn't warn you. Also, Freeman, what tyre pressure do we need for the wet? Ryan asked. Did you? I don't know if you managed to get back to him on that one, Freeman, but it's a bit late now.
I didn't, but 30 psi is what they want to aim for both GT3 and 4 on front and rear tyres.
30 psi for the wet.
PSI. Yeah.
Right. That explains why I always drive I always have a bit of a mare in the wet, to be honest. That explains that one. We got JR said, let's go Team Run DJC Racing, Ryan and Cod. It's just Ryan and Cod, it is, you know. They're the only ones out there right now. Surprising to see Run DJC so underrepresented. Although, having said that, there will be Run DJC drivers out on track later on for the Ginetta
I think
Cup.
Ryan's actually just gone off on this track.
Oh no, what's happened? Oh dear. Yeah, he has. He's had an absolute mare coming out of the hairpin. He will be able to retake his spot at the second spot in the GT4 pack, I believe. Hopefully,
get round in time. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't deprive him of what's rightfully his there. Hopefully he can. Well, he's just ghosting through them here, so that should be all right. It should be okay. Still got the final sector to go, so he should be able to regain that. But JL says, what in the Notter's pocket? And wasn't the dynamic duo Batman and Robin? Yeah, it could be. I don't know. To be fair, I'm actually like one of the only people in the world that hasn't watched Batman, so I couldn't tell you. Good evening all, says Raki. Welcome, Raki. Good to see you. One of our coordinators here at Motive, or obviously the F1 standings man, as well as one of our stewards here, Sander, liking that one there in the comments. Yeah, these guys just saying hello to Raki here in the comments. But Freeman, I've got to ask you a question now that we've gone through all of the comments there in the chat. I've got to ask you who your pick is for tonight in terms of the GT3s and the GT4s. We see Torde returning to the pits, so not sure why he's just brought me back into the pits. But anyway, who do you think is going to be the winner in each category here tonight?
I've got to go with Cololungo for the GT4s. He's been my teammate for a good few years now. Know him quite well. He's a solid driver, and I think he was gutted he missed out last week. And he's got some points to make up this week. So yeah, go for Cololungo.
Cololungo for GT4.
Yeah, John Jiggs I think is an outside chance as well. Very strong in the wet. GT4s. I think Video Gamer again.
Video Gamer to make it
picked up a drive-through.
Oh no, yes he has. COD, no, that's not the start he wanted. As we see Video Gamer coming up into turn 1 here. Is he hold on to the... No, there's a collision straight away. Video Gamer coming together there with PS Vids. PS Vids is off onto the gravel. That's given Reco Vantage the race lead here. So that has gone horribly wrong. And now Mad Max is facing the wrong way as well. Where's Cheese Monkey? Cheese Monkey gets through the carnage. Cololungo is also round. He gets caught up in the GT3 incidents in front of him. Nowhere to go. Just to compound matters with his drive-through penalty, Nilsson's also got a drive-through. Absolute carnage in these tricky, slippery conditions. And Cheese Monkey's down the inside of one of the other drivers here. Is that a GT4 car? Yes, it is. That's Ryan. So Cheese Monkey did kind of get caught up in the incidents there. But that is the last thing we needed at the start of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's notoriously difficult turn 1 anyway, and being in the wet, you'd like to have thought that the guys would take a little bit more caution going into the wet, but you know these things do happen. Everyone wants to try and get the jump early on, and it's unfortunate that it's happened, and it has kind of completely reshuffles the order of the pack now.
Yeah, it really has. It's absolutely thrown a spanner in the works for a lot of the drivers here tonight. Obviously, we can see Cololungo had the drive-through penalty anyway. He hasn't even crossed the first sector point yet. But in terms of the GT3 class, now Video Gamer is 3 seconds behind Reco Vantage. Actually did quite well there to only lose 3 seconds at the start. It was his collision there with PS Vids that triggered the whole chain reaction, albeit maybe just put a few of the other drivers who were coming through the corner off. But JR says, oh, Mad Max and COD. Yeah, they were just tied together there. Mad Max was caught up in the incidents in front of him, and COD then got caught up by Mad Max's spin, so there was nothing that either of them could really do. Obviously you have different classes, so Mad Max, we're expecting him to come through the pack pretty soon, hopefully for him. But Reco Vantage has the lead of the GT3 class right now, 3 seconds back to Video Gamer and Cheese Monkey. These two not too far away considering the first corner carnage. Cheese Monkey now looking to try and make hay while the sun shines, albeit it's not really sunshine here at the Nurburgring. He's on the back of Video Gamer here as they're coming over the line to complete the first. Now they've got a bit of a gap back to the GT4 class leader. Ryan Ruby must be wondering, you know, what he's done right here. I know that he even got caught up in some of the incidents. How on earth he's so far ahead of the rest of the GT4s? I don't know, but he's well clear of the rest of them right now. He's even on the back of PS Vids here, although PS Vids has got ahead of him up into P4 overall. But Ryan Ruby, currently a leader in the GT4 class right now, has 6 seconds back to Pete Bibb. Duke Martin's on the back of Pete Bibb here. These two battling it out over the final podium spots here. You've got King Quinn a further 3 seconds back there, running in 8th overall, 4th place in the GT4 class. He's got John Jig on the back of him right now. A couple of seconds back to the Lazy Camel, who's got Torde going around his outside. Torde obviously with the GT3 class, and Cololungo trying to come through as well. But COD will obviously be hard pushed to get around the Lazy Camel too easily because they are in the same category here. But COD looking at the inside of the Lazy Camel. Can he get this move done at the exit of the arena? I think he is going to get this done, you know. Cololungo absolute peach up the inside of the Lazy Camel and gets himself into 5th in class. So that's nicely done there from COD. He's even having a look at Torde here. COD, a man on a mission right now.
Yeah, he's got some ground to make up. He opted not to come in to serve the drive-through on the first option to do so. Potentially we're going to leave it to the last. So he's got another 2 laps to complete the drive-through. So looking like he wants to push himself as far or as close up to as possible to the guys in front. But yeah, it's going to be a tall order for him to come back. But it'd be interesting to see him climb through, see if he can start putting pressure. So his next person is John Jig that he's got.
I think his target's got to be to finish P2 in GT4 class now. I think it's probably because I know that him and Ryan ran away a little bit last time out, so I think that's a reasonable target for him maybe.
Yeah, it could be a tall order though, because you've got the likes of John Jig, Duke Martin as well. Duke Martin showed last year that he was very strong in the wet. Last season, very strong in the wet as well. So it's going to be tough, especially with the drive-through in these conditions. So it would definitely be interesting to see how it pans out for him.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's still a long way to go, but anything can happen over the course of a 1 hour race. But we've got Cheese Monkey currently in P2 at the moment, so he's got himself ahead of Recco Vantage. And what has happened here to Recco Vantage? Because Recco Vantage is now absolutely nowhere to be seen.
John looks like he's making a move on King Quinn.
Yeah, he is.
The home straight.
Yeah, here they come. So they're going to be side by side. But Recco Vantage has been passed by both of them. So this could actually just distract John Jig and King Quinn a little bit. So Recco Vantage now down the inside there. And King Quinn in the end loses out to John Jig. Oh no! As Recco Vantage just spun it. Oh my! He's having a total capitulation here. What's going on with Recco Vantage?
To see that Kotlungu is coming in to serve his drive-through now.
Oh, Recco Vantage just spins it again there, coming through the arena. Yeah, you're right. Kotlungu getting it done and out of the way at the last opportunity of asking. So, oh, wow, he's got work to do. That is for sure. But he's got time on his side here. Yeah, he's got time on his hands. He's got an opportunity where he can bring himself back into a reasonably decent position here. Maybe that drive-through is just going to give him that sort of moment to just take a deep breath and say, right, now's my opportunity to just hammer down, foot to the floor, see what I can do here. We know he's got the pace. Kotlungu, a quick driver, but he's going to be absolutely kicking himself with how the start to that race went. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't any fault of his own, because there were collisions going off left, right and centre and all over the gaff in front of him. But we got Cheese within 3 seconds of Video Gamer. These the two leaders in the GT3 class, not too much separating them. Although having said that, Video Gamer had pulled out about a second over the course of this lap so far. Further 4 seconds back to PS Vids. You got Ryan running in P4 in a moment. Further 6 seconds back to obviously Ryan in the GT4 class, leader of the GT4 class. P-Bib 6 seconds off of him. King Quinn still hasn't fully fallen off the back of John Jig at the moment. There's only about 7/10 between those two, as Torday's now pulled up onto the back of Recco Vantage. And has Recco Vantage got damage here? Because he seems to be limping along at this point, although he's actually pulled out a bit of a gap to Torday, so maybe not. Well, maybe not. Maybe he's just about hanging in there at this point. But John Jig's pulled out the gap to almost a second here to King Quinn. Looks like he's reasonably safe there in that one. And the gap at the front, 4 seconds between Video Gamer and Cheese Monkey.
Yeah, Video Gamer's starting to actually pull away slightly now from Cheese Monkey. He's actually, so from the instant start, I mean, it looks like he's carrying damage at the front of his car. But yeah, he's managed to start pulling away from Cheese Monkey. So, but we know how Cheese Monkey is good in the wet, and also we know how Cheese Monkey he comes on a lot stronger during the second stint of a race as well.
Yeah, maybe he's gone for a sort of a mixed bag setup. Possibly Video Gamer's gone a bit more angled towards the left and not the left, the wet. Yeah. And maybe Cheese has gone for something a little bit more in the middle, kind of like taking the best of both worlds and trying to find that perfect balance. But you know, whatever it is, I mean, regardless of what setups they got, Video Gamer's absolutely smashing it right now. PS Vids has actually closed the gap to Cheese Monkey a little bit. The gap's now down to under 4 seconds between those two. So PS Vids currently got a little bit of momentum going here in what could be the battle for second place here in the GT3 class at this point. You've got High Grade in the comments saying, come on Max, voicing his support here for Mad Max, who had there's no other word for it other than a nightmare of a first corner and a first lap, and indeed the first part of the race. He got some pretty hefty damage. He had to spend a long time in that pit box to get that damage repaired. He's now 30 seconds behind Kotlungu, who's the last running GT4 car. So Mad Max, you know, to say he's got work to do would be a massive understatement here in this race. I think that his target's got to be to get ahead of the GT4 cars in this race, if I'm honest. But
yes, fair play for him to carrying on. It was very early on in the race. You know, it could have been easy just to kind of call it a day. Oh, as we just see, Cheese Monkey's lost it.
Oh no, is he? Oh no, Cheese Monkey.
Yeah.
Oh, he's lost out to PS Vids. PS Vids up into P2. It's easily done though, coming through that arena section. I bet he tagged that curb on the inside, that turn 2, that never-ending turn 2, as you turning. I bet it was like it could have been that or the apex for turn 3, as you get to the end of turn 2. I think it's one of those. He's probably just tagged it, and that's been it. That's been see you later to the rear of the car. But Cheese Monkey now down to P3, losing a bit of time to Video Gamer. We're not sure what direction they've gone with the setup to this point, but Video Gamer once again doing what he did last week, really. Last week at Barcelona, Video Gamer, you know, he did run away a little bit, and so far this time he's done the same thing again.
Yeah, again looking quite comfortable at the moment, but being with these conditions, you know, as we have seen already, you know, with even the most experienced drivers, oh no, and Cheese Monkey's gone off again.
Oh, he's falling apart here. He needs to just regroup, take a deep breath, get himself together again, take a sip of a glass of water. Auto Butcher, if you're listening to this, just bring him a drink, bring him something, just give him a snack or something, and you know he'll be all right. He'll get himself together again. Just he needs some refreshments, he needs some replenishments. But right now, Cheese Monkey, he just seems to be in a bit of a rut at the moment, and it's easy to get yourself into this kind of situation, especially early in a race when you start to think, oh, it's all going against me. You know, what's the point in continuing with the race? But if you get through it, all you have to do is just grit your teeth and keep going for another couple of minutes, and all of a sudden you start to get back into it again, and you start thinking, oh, this is, you know, it's all right, it's not the worst, you know, still plenty of laps and still plenty of opportunities. But at this point, 17 seconds off for the race lead, and maybe, just maybe, he's starting to think that this one's not going to go his way. In terms of the GT4 class win, it's looking like it's pretty much Ryan's at this point. He's got a 7-second lead at this point over Pete Bibb. Pete Bibb driving a really solid race though tonight. He's got about 3 seconds back to Duke Martin. They're split by Recco Vantage, who's just hit the pit wall again. And Recco Vantage can't seem to stay out of trouble right now, as now Duke Martin is on the back of him. I think Recco should have the straight line speed to get away from him here, but Recco Vantage is not getting it going at all. He seems to be really struggling to get that Porsche to fire up here at this point, and can't stop making mistakes at this stage in the race. As we've got JR in the comments saying, I know I race AOR with him. Cool guy was going to ask who this was on his account, chatting. Yeah, he's not had the best races for Mad Max, but top 3 good points for Cheese, says JR. Oh, Recco's lost it again! And Duke Martin moves through up into 6th overall in the race, and I don't know what's going on with Recco Vantage, but in the GT3 class, they're in that number 16 Porsche, things are not going his way in any way, shape or form. He's got King Quinn on the back of him. Torde is following pretty closely as well. But it's going from bad to worse at the moment for Recco Vantage, and there's no escape, there's no hiding from it, there's no pit window to cover his blushes at this point. He's just got to stick with it and stick out and just try and make the best of it here.
Cods must have had an off as well, because he's now put back in the pits to repair damage.
Oh no, Cod, yep, coming in 12 minutes before the pit window opens. So obviously, if you come in before the pit window opens, it's basically null and void. You might as well have not even bothered, because it doesn't count as a mandatory pit stop. All it does is repair any damage. So sometimes it's like a trade-off. You have to calculate, well, is it worth coming in and getting that damage repaired and it not even counting towards my mandatory pit stop? You know, is it worth bothering? And obviously for Cod, the damage is so severe that he's like, yeah, I've just got to get in, get it repaired, get it sorted out, so I'm not driving a tractor around. But Video Gamer's got the lead here in this one. He's got just under 11 seconds of a gap here to PS Vids. So he's the gap's kind of ebbing and flowing between these two, but Video Gamer seems to be more consistent. King Quinn's dropped off a little bit off of Recco Vantage, as you would predict, because Recco's in a GT3 car, but I fear that the next mistake for Recco Vantage, it cannot be very far away. And I hate to say that, but based on the form and the evidence from tonight, I feel like he's probably about 3 corners away from a spin. Sorry, Recco Vantage. But he gets around the outside of...
It looks like he's just pushing too hard, to be fair. It just looks like he's trying to... Obviously, he needs to make up ground, but looks like he's just trying too hard. You know, in these conditions, it's going to punish you.
he's trying to bridge that gap, isn't he? Trying to make up for the lost time, and I think he's just left himself with too much work to do. I think the gap to begin with was just unassailable, and he's trying to take shortcuts, as it were, trying to just push it a little bit beyond limits, and ultimately it's just not flying as it wouldn't. But he's pushing and he's trying, and he maybe just needs to calm it down a bit, try a more measured approach here in this one. But he's about 3 seconds behind Duke Martin at this point, and those two, obviously Pete Bibb and Duke Martin of the GT4 class, as is Ryan Ruby, up ahead of them. So he just needs to pick his way through that traffic and just drive as fast as he can and see where he can get to really in this one. But he's a long way off at this point. The gap at the front between Video Gamer and PS Vids looks like it's staying at around the same. At this point it was 11 seconds. See if PS Vids has closed that at all. Cheese Monkey's actually keeping the gap around the same to the leaders, so he's maybe got into a bit of a rhythm now. Who knows what the end of this race could bring. If it dries out a little bit, then it could bring him back into play. Oh no, in fact, PS Vids has made a mistake. PS Vids has made a big mistake because he's now 20 seconds behind Video Gamer, so scratch that, forget what I just said there, that's absolute rubbish. In fact, no, PS Vids is 20 seconds behind Video Gamer, and Cheese Monkey is 26 seconds behind Video Gamer. As Rico Vantage just got ahead of Duke Martin, he's now going to be putting up onto the back of Pete Bibb. Has he got ahead of him yet?
Rico Vantage has, yeah.
Yeah, Rico Vantage has done him, I think. No, he's ahead of Duke Martin. He's still behind Pete Bibb. So 3 seconds currently separating these two. You can see Rico Vantage just coming through that chicane there. He's pulled out a bit of a gap to Duke Martin now, so possibly starting to iron out those creases and maybe getting into his stride ever so slightly at this stage in the race. But Xander saying great performance from Pete Bibb tonight. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. P2 in the GT4 class, and he's closing a little bit on Ryan as well. He gained about half a second on that last lap with Pete Bibb, so don't count him out of a class win here in this one. Pete Bibb could be a bit of a dark horse in that BMW.
Yeah, I've actually been watching Pete Bibb for the last couple of laps. It's not really putting anything wrong, not doing anything wrong. The time keeps going up and down, kind of teasing around the 7 to 6.5 seconds on Ryan. So just needs to keep it there or thereabouts. Doesn't need to try and push too hard to try and get on the back of Ryan. If Ryan does make a mistake, he will then be right back on top of him. As we've seen already, it's tricky conditions for these drivers, so anything can happen in terms of mistakes. It's just if it does happen, you need to be there and ready to kind of make that move. As Rico Vantage actually looks like he's just coming down to now take Pete Bibb.
Yeah, so Rico Vantage, easy stuff there. Not too much of a fuss there from Pete Bibb, as you would expect, with the difference in class between the two of them. So Rico Vantage continue on his way, and he'll be on the back of the GT4 class leader Ryan pretty soon. But obviously, it's not really. I mean, it's still for P4 in the GT3 class, and when you consider the fact that GT3 drivers like Torde and Mad Max getting into all sorts of trouble in the early part of the race, it's not too bad going for Rico Vantage. You'll still get some good points in this one, but he's a million miles away from the back of Cheese Monkey running in the podium spot at the moment for the GT3 class. Cheese Monkey's not really making the headway that he'd want to be making on PS Vids, and Video Gamers just gradually extending that gap in the GT3 class. So I think the GT3's pretty much a done deal now for all the positions, unless there's some kind of massive turnaround in this race. But the GT4s, I'd say, very much still an open battle here. There's a gap between Ryan and Pete Bibb staying at around the same, and Ryan's doing what he needs to do, but Pete Bibb will be there. As you said, Freeman, he's there and ready to pounce if anything does happen again. So Ryan needs to make sure, well, not again, but you know what I mean. It's like, if anything does happen to Ryan, if he does make any more mistakes, then I think Pete will be there ready waiting for him.
Yeah, definitely. That's all he needs to do, is kind of just keep things solid, do what he's doing. Doesn't seem like he's pushing too hard. Looks like he's quite comfortable in the wet. Potentially got the right setup for him.
Oh, sorry, Freeman. Nilsson's just binned it into the wall. Apologies to just cut in there. Sorry, I'll let you carry on there. I'm just trying to work out where he was on the track. I think he was he near the Lazy Camel? I think he was. Yeah, he was battling with the Lazy Camel, and Nilsson's just crashed into the wall. So I don't know if there was an incident, but yeah, you were saying about Ryan. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, he just needs to kind of continue what he's doing. Kind of just make sure, as we said, you know, if Ryan does make an error, that he's there ready to pounce on him to put the pressure on.
For sure, yeah. And the gap is currently between Ryan and Pete Bibb. It's still around 7 seconds, so it's not really going up and it's not really going down. It is just it's ebbing and flowing as it has been. No, what's happened to Ryan? What's happened to Ryan? He's made a mistake. No way. Ryan's made a mistake and he's dropped behind Duke Martin. Oh my god, curse of the commentators. Oh no, Ryan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, we've done it again. Oh no. And Ryan Ruby from a nice comfortable P1 in the GT4 class now finds himself behind Duke Martin in P3, so it's gone horribly wrong there for him. He'll be kicking himself after that one. As I just want to apologise for the not so great frame rate at the moment on the stream. I'm not actually sure really why it's so bad. Yeah, because there's not really any reason why it should be like this at this point, but it seems to have just completely dropped. Could be because the computer's getting a bit hot, but it's not exactly like we can cool it down right now, so I always have to roll with it. But oh wow, Ryan back up into P2.
Yeah, John Jigg's now back on the back of Duke Martin as well.
Yeah, so Duke Martin will be wanting to try and hold on to this podium spot here, but John Jig can smell it. And to be fair, now with Ryan's little mistake there's only about 10 seconds covering the top 4 in the GT4 class, so this is anyone's game here. As we see John Jig now on the back of Duke into turn 1, gets a little bit onto the curb. You don't want to be doing that in the wet, because that will send you off onto the right hand side into that barrier, or it will force the car to swap ends. So John Jig won't want to be doing that too much, but right now Ryan's still got the gap to Duke, so he's obviously, with Duke making that mistake on a previous lap, it gave Ryan P2 back. But Pete Bibb in control of this race. 6 seconds his gap at the moment is over Ryan. 3 minutes until the pit window. That could shake things up a little bit. That could give Ryan a route back in. It could maybe allow John Jig to get onto the podium, but anything could happen at this point. As JR saying, Murray Walker does. Oh, it's Ryan's off again. Oh, Ryan's off onto the gravel again. What is going on here with Ryan Ruby? He just seems like he's got himself into a little bit of a rut now. And I've said this before over the course of tonight, it's easily done, especially in the wet conditions, but Ryan is just falling apart here at this point.
He needs to get his head together, and pit window opens up fairly soon. Just take a breather, reset himself, because I think he was just trying to push that a little bit too hard. But yeah, reset himself. He's got the pace to be able to kind of challenge Pete Bibb. So yeah, just needs to calm down a little bit, I think, for Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. I think he just needs to, as you say, just breathe and go again. But we've got John Jig here.
I've noticed the swerved cheese monkey's up to second now.
Yeah, he has. So PS4's made a mistake. The gap's 12 seconds between them. Well spotted there, because I was looking down at the GT4s. But Cheese Monkey, well, he's still a long way behind Video Gamer. But PS4 must have made a mistake somewhere out there. The gap between Video Gamer and Cheese Monkey 32 seconds. But yeah, PS4, I don't know, mistakes starting to creep into it, possibly. Pit window's coming up, so the question is, are these guys going to put another set of wet tyres on? I imagine they probably would from here, but
well, the weather's saying for the next 30 minutes it's still going to rain, so yeah, I'd imagine they would.
Yeah, another set of wet tyres has got to be the go-to. But PS4's now dropping a bit off of the back of Cheese Monkey, maybe a bit of tyre wear coming into it, possibly tyre pressure's starting to go down or go up a bit, who knows. But Pete Bibb's gap to Ryan currently almost 8 seconds, so Pete Bibb's definitely got the ascendancy here in this race. He's got that momentum, as we've seen Ryan making a few mistakes, and that was what gifted Pete Bibb the lead. We were saying a few moments before, all Ryan needs to do is keep it cool, keep it together, not make any mistakes, and he's got this race in the bag. And just how badly we have screwed him over with that, it shames me to admit how much we've shot him in the foot there, because I know that if we hadn't been on him, it probably wouldn't have happened. But oh well. it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes in racing. But still 10 seconds separating the top 4 in the GT4 class. at the moment. John Jig's about a second off the back of Duke Martin. Duke Martin looks pretty safe there in what's now that podium spot, but the gap only 1.6 between Ryan and Duke as well, so Ryan continuing to drop off of Pete Bibb. Pete Bibb is driving like an absolute maestro here out the front. David Snook, don't mention anyone, guys. Light Blade enjoying JR's comment there in the YouTube stream. High Grade says not having a good race like he normally does about Max. No, big surprise to see Mad Max down there in last place overall, although I think he's coming around to unlap himself on somebody. He runs the same number as High Grade, I swear, doesn't he? 868. I'm sure he runs the same number. But anyway, yeah, he's on the back of one of the GT4 cars at this point, is it? I think. Don't know, to be fair. Who is it? No, he's on the back of a GT3 car. He's on the back of Recco Vantage. So Mad Max is trying to unlap himself on Recco Vantage, and he's keeping up with him. Oh, Recco's lost it again! Recco, another spin! Oh, Recco. He can't do anything right tonight. He just can't get into a rhythm. Recco Vantage had another spin there, and that's going to drop him even further off of the top 3 in the GT3 class. It just isn't falling for him tonight in any way, shape or form. Big shout out to Duke Martin, says David Snook, absolutely third place currently in the GT4 class, doing an excellent job here tonight. High Grade says he's 876, whereas Mad Max is 868. Ah, okay, right, gotcha. But John Jig now closed up onto the back of Duke Martin. Duke, I think, might have just made a little bit of a slip there coming through the final sector of that previous lap, and that's now giving John Jig a bit of a sniff here as they're coming down towards turn 4 of the track here. But pit window's now open, so any of these drivers can come into the pits and make their pit stop. It will count as their mandatory if they come in, so they can pull the trigger at the end of this lap. They can get themselves in for a quick tyre change, maybe guzzle a bit of fuel, possibly a cup of tea if their pit crew aren't that great. But you know, whatever the case, whatever they need doing, whatever needs servicing, they can come in and get that sorted out, and they can obviously count that as their mandatory pit stop. So anybody who's already been into the pits will still need to come in again. It only counts if you come in during that 10-minute window. Outside of that window, it's as if it never happened. So make sure it's in that 10-minute window, guys.
I don't want to jinx him, but Ryan is starting to close that gap on Pete Bibb.
Yeah, it's now down at 6 seconds, isn't it? I know what you mean, though. The last thing we want to do is put him off again. So let's just pretend that's not happening
for a little while. Yeah.
let's just turn a blind eye to that one. We haven't noticed that one. John Jig's on the back of Duke Martin right now, just under a second between these two here coming in towards the hairpin. But yeah, John Jig is ebbing and flowing between them. In fact, has John Jig done Duke Martin? He has
made the move. Yeah,
he has. Yeah, John Jig's got ahead of him there. So that's great stuff there for John Jig. But Duke Martin, I said before, I think he had a bit of a mistake coming through this sector of the previous lap, and he's coming into the pit. So Duke Martin there, just counting his losses there, knows that, you know, he's lost that battle, but he's certainly not lost the war. He can come out of the pits, he can get the jump on John Jig, he can come out and still with that podium spot. Recco